My ex-wife thought she was about to play her greatest trick. She showed up to our divorce hearing pregnant, convinced it would buy her a golden ticket. What she didn't know, one question from the judge was about to crush her plan in front of everyone. The marriage had already been a wreck, but the divorce was worse. Melissa Parker, yeah, that's her name, stretched the fight out with tantrums, fake emergencies, and pointless filings, all just to bleed me dry. If she had put half as much effort into our life together as she did into making my life miserable, maybe we wouldn't be here. So when Melissa walked in, hand on her belly like she was auditioning for a soap opera, I nearly laughed out loud. I knew the baby wasn't mine. She was counting on sympathy, betting the judge would see a helpless, abandoned woman and ignore the prenup, cry a few tears, toss in a shaky sigh, and walk out with a fat monthly check. Your Honor, I'm carrying a child. I've been left with nothing. How am I supposed to survive? That's the line I knew she was waiting to deliver, flashing me those side glances, expecting me to squirm. But here's the thing Melissa didn't realize: I'd already mapped out every one of her plays. She thought I'd panic, stumble over myself, maybe even offer a deal just to save face. What she didn't see coming was that I'd been 3 steps ahead for months, and the one question she never prepared for was about to blow her whole scam wide open. Melissa strutted into that courtroom like she'd rehearsed it 100 times, one hand resting on her stomach, the other brushing hair behind her ear, pretending she wasn't about to commit legal fraud. She even sighed dramatically when she sat down, like the whole ordeal was just too much for her delicate soul. I didn't flinch. I didn't need to. Unlike Melissa, I wasn't walking in blind. I had come ready, and so had my lawyer, Ethan Brooks. Ethan was the kind of guy who smiled politely while dismantling you piece by piece with the law. I never liked lawyers, but after watching him slice through Melissa's tricks these past few months, I was damn grateful he was on my side. Melissa, on the other hand, had burned through 3 lawyers already. The one she dragged in today, a rookie, barely out of law school, probably praying this would be his big break. Poor kid didn't realize he just signed up to be collateral damage in her circus act. A week before the hearing, my mom called me. Just settle, she pleaded, her voice tired. You don't want this dragging on forever. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Mom, she's not getting a dime. That's why we signed the prenup. She's pregnant, she pushed. You really want that on your conscience? I almost laughed, right there on the phone. It's not my kid, Mom. Silence. Then, a shaky, are you sure? Was I sure? Melissa had cheated on me over and over. I had caught her. I had proof. And here was the kicker: if by some miracle the baby was mine, she wouldn't need to play these games. I'd step up. I'd take care of them. That's who I am. But Melissa, she doesn't take responsibility. She plots, she schemes, she manipulates. That was the difference between us, and I knew it was only a matter of time before the judge saw it too. The morning of the hearing, the air in that courtroom felt thick, like everyone was waiting for fireworks. Melissa's lawyer wasted no time. He jumped straight into a sob story, spinning her as the helpless victim of a cold, heartless husband. She dabbed at her eyes for effect, letting out these pathetic little sniffles. I didn't move. I didn't roll my eyes. I just sat there while Ethan stayed calm, letting her side burn through their theatrics. He knew the longer they dragged it out, the more dramatic it looked, and the easier it would be to rip apart. Then Ethan stood, controlled, steady, ready to gut her whole act. Your Honor, he said evenly, while we sympathize with Miss Parker's situation, there's one very important matter that must be addressed before we proceed. He turned toward her rookie lawyer. Who is the father of this child? The room went dead quiet. Melissa stiffened like someone had yanked the rug out from under her. She never saw it coming. She assumed she could waltz in pregnant, act vulnerable, and no one would dare question it. But the reality was brutal. Her pregnancy only mattered if the baby was mine, and the truth was, she couldn't prove a damn thing. Melissa's lawyer froze. eyes darting like he'd just realized he'd walked into a trap. Finally, he muttered, "My client believes it's the petitioner's child." Believes. That word almost made me laugh out loud. Ethan didn't blink. He leaned on it like a hammer. "She believes?" Ethan repeated, his tone sharp. "So there's no proof?" The judge's gaze locked on Melissa. "Miss Parker, have you had a paternity test done?" Melissa's lips opened, closed, then opened again. She looked like a fish gasping for air. I assumed." "Assumed?" The judge cut in, unimpressed. "Miss Parker, is there any evidence at all that Mr. Parker is the father?" Her lawyer looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. Melissa's face drained of color. She stammered, caught between lies that no longer worked. That's when Ethan went for the kill. He pulled out photos of Melissa, taken just 2 months after we separated vacation shots with another guy, holding hands, kissing, proof she had moved on, and fast. Ethan wasn't done. He slid medical records across the table like a final card in a poker game. They showed Melissa's first confirmed pregnancy test was months after she and I had last been together. Her face collapsed. Her lawyer stared at her, clearly realizing she'd kept him in the dark. The judge let out a long, tired sigh and shook his head. "Miss Parker, this court does not take kindly to deception. Given the evidence, there is no basis for financial support. The prenup stands. You will not be receiving alimony or additional compensation." Boom. Just like that, her whole scheme crumbled. Melissa gasped like she'd been punched, her knuckles white against the edge of the table. This wasn't the script she'd written in her head. She thought she'd walk out with a payday. Instead, she was being exposed as a fraud in front of everyone. Her lawyer wouldn't even look at her anymore. He just stared at the floor, probably regretting ever taking her case. Melissa gripped the table harder, as if she could hold on to the last shreds of her plan. And then it started, the tantrum. Her final, desperate play. Melissa shot up in her chair, voice climbing higher with every word. "This isn't fair," she cried. "I'm about to have a baby, and he just gets to walk away?" The judge rubbed his temples, clearly done with the circus. His voice was firm, no sympathy left. "Miss Parker, this court does not make financial judgments based on emotion. Your pregnancy has no legal bearing unless paternity is proven. And based on the evidence, it has not been." He lifted a hand, cutting her off. "Enough." Melissa snapped her head toward me, eyes blazing. "You're really going to do this to me? To your own child?" Even after being humiliated, she still tried to plant doubt. The courtroom went silent, waiting for my reaction. I leaned forward slowly, a grin tugging at the corner of my mouth. "You really want to go on record accusing me of being the father?" I asked, voice calm. "Because we can get a court-ordered paternity test right now." Her face twitched. She had nothing left, and now everyone in that room knew it. The judge didn't even bother responding. He just turned to the clerk. "This hearing is over." Melissa sat frozen, her plan collapsing around her. The room emptied, but I wasn't done watching her break. I walked out with Ethan at my side and my mom trailing behind. I half expected Melissa to slink away quietly, but that wasn't her style. She stormed out, heels slamming against the floor, her face red, her hands shaking. "You're a monster," she hissed. "You let me sit there humiliated." I turned, calm as stone. "Which part humiliated you, Melissa? The scam? Or realizing I was 3 steps ahead?" "You set me up," she spat. "No," I smiled coldly. "You set yourself up. I just let you walk into it." She whipped toward my mom like it was her last chance. "Are you seriously okay with this? With what he did to me?" My mom's voice was sharp. "No, Melissa, I'm not okay with what you did to him. You fooled us once. Never again." Melissa's lip quivered, but instead of tears came venom. "I hope you rot," she shrieked, lunging forward. That's when 2 court officers stepped in. "Miss Parker," one of them said, stern, "the judge has recommended an inquiry into perjury and fraud. You'll need to answer some questions." Her eyes went wide. She stammered, but they were already leading her back into the courtroom. Ethan clapped my shoulder. "Well," he said with a smirk, "that was satisfying." "Yeah," I answered, finally breathing easy. It was. Melissa's downfall didn't stop there. Fines for wasting the court's time, her lawyer dropping her, government aid denied. Even her boyfriend bailed after realizing he wasn't the only one she'd been with. A few months later, I got a text from an unknown number. "I hope you're happy." I stared at it, typed back 2 words. "I am." Then I blocked the number. After years of manipulation, Melissa Parker was finally out of my life, and for the first time in a long time, I was free.